Alright, so we're on to day 5 of Royal Ascot. What a meeting it's been so far. I might do a video recapping the entire meeting. But yeah, obviously, this day 4 we had Precise win the Coronation Stakes. Bit of a messy race in behind. But, she won like how she should have. I thought she looked beat, to be fair, but, she's a very good horse. And then, yeah, obviously True Love did a bit of weird stuff with Wayne Lawton. Going in the way of Tulane and Safi Osborne, so that was pretty interesting. And then Causeway, which was one of my two bets of the meeting, or of the day, I guess, won pretty well. And I think Water to Wine was pretty, not very good. So pretty interesting day. And what about that American horse in the last race as well? The UK handicappers really fucked up with that one. But pretty interesting day of racing. And we go on to day 5. We've got the 6 furlong Group 1, the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee. We've got the Jersey Stakes. We've got the Hardwicke Stakes, which is a very deep race. And then there's that last race, which is the Queen Alexandra over a really long distance. So we'll talk about some of these races kind of quickly, because I need to get back to the Socceroos game against the USA in the World Cup. But the Norfolk Stakes, I'm not going to bother going into it because I don't really have an opinion on it. It's just another one of these 2-year-old races that are hard to gauge the ability of the horses. We'll go straight into it. The Hardwicke Stakes, Group 2, a mile and a half. Really good race this year. Kalpana is the favourite, and I think rightfully so. She's got a very good record at Ascot. She's won the Fillies and Mares. That race, the Fillies and Mares, it's like I don't know what it's called, the Stakes or something. I don't know, but very good record at Ascot. Very good record over a mile and a half. Last year she was actually my pick for the Arc, but things didn't really go her way. She comes here. She's had one run, which was a bit lackluster, but, I think she's going to improve from there. And I think she's a really good chance in this race. Now, Jan Bruegel, he was last seen running second in the Coronation Cup on a pretty wet track. I don't know if it was heavy, it might have been. But it was pretty unpleasant conditions, and he ran pretty well, I thought. Although, I just don't really know where he's at, this horse. Like, he can throw in a stinker, Jan Bruegel, I think. We've seen him, even in the King George last year, he didn't run very well. So I could see him not really firing. Now, Goliath, who is, he's one of my favourite horses. As you can tell by my channel, there's a lot of Goliath-themed stuff, obviously, in the banner. Because I backed him in the King George when he won, so Goliath has a little bit of a soft spot for me. But, 6 years old. He won pretty well last start, but I think it was a pretty weak race. With Qualificar flopping. So, I like him. I think if they go pretty hard, that would set it up for him. But, I'm just not too sure at this stage of his career whether he's a really elite middle distance horse. I think, he was good 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, but I don't know if he's still at that level. Best Secret won very well in France last start, although I'm not too sure. I think this is going to be too hard for him. Obviously, you've got Ethical Diamond, who was a shock winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf last year. And then I think he ran in the Shima Classic, obviously behind Clandigan, so he never really stood a chance. And then he comes here, if Dylan Brown McMonagle drops him out, he could run a big race, but I'm not too sure. I think that Breeders' Cup Turf win was probably, a bit of a fluke. Then you got Giavolotto, who's, kind of getting to the end of his career as a 7-year-old. I think, he's been very good in the past, but I think this will be a bridge too far. You've got Amilok, who's kind of interesting, to be fair. He ran very well in the Breeders' Cup Turf. And then I remember I backed him in the Yorkshire Cup. And he just, didn't run very well. He was a bit keen, and obviously that extended trip, he was found out a little bit. Although, to be fair, I think he came second in the Irish Ledger last year. So, I think you can kind of write it off. But, there's better horses here, I think, to be on an Amilok. Although, to be fair, going forward, he might run well here, and then he could be a horse to watch for the rest of the season, I think. So, Amilok's, he's all right. Santorini Star comes back to a mile and a half. I think she might have ran... Actually, I think she ran over a mile and a half last start and ran pretty well. But this is a hard race. I think she's better suited to races like the Lily Langtree, the Park Hill Stakes. I think it's called that race at Doncaster. So I think she's better suited to, further, 2 miles, those sorts of races. Oh, no, she came second in the that French race. Yeah, sorry. she's pretty good, although I think this will be too hard for her. Lambourne, probably going to set the pace. Don't really know whether there is a winning chance, but he might be there in the finish. West Wind Blows, he's been around for a long time. Did that Melbourne campaign. And then he's had a bit of a career resurgence as a 7-year-old, running pretty well and running second in the Shima Classic, albeit it wasn't the strongest race, but, came second to Kalpana again, which, is always going to be good form. And then these bottom two, I think, probably don't really have a chance. But I'm going to have a bet on Kalpana. Actually, I've already had a bet on her. I think I got $3.50. I could just see her going off at maybe $2.50 or $2.80, maybe. I think she's a really solid horse, really good at Ascot. She's won multiple Group 1s. I think she's just, these mares, when they turn 5, I think, that they can find a bit of a second sort of wind in their career. I think Kalpana's really good. I think she wins the Hardwicke. Jan Bruegel could win as well, but I think Kalpana's going to beat him, to be honest. Now we'll move on to the main race. For me, this is the best race of the entire carnival. And I am a biased Australian. Joliestar. Here we go. 1,200 metres, Group 1. This is one of the best sprints in the world. Joliestar's the favourite. This track bias has been pretty bizarre over this Royal Ascot. Obviously, the near side has been, it's been like the Golden Highway. So, being drawn barrier 9 might not be ideal, but, I think she's the best horse here by a very long way. She's way better than Satono Rev. She doesn't need to be drawn in the best part of the track. And I think, we saw earlier in the week, we saw Great Barrier Reef win, and she was just, he. I keep getting confused. It's quite a feminine name, so I keep saying she for Great Barrier Reef, but I know that he's a he. But he won from a part of the track that was not hot. I think he was drawn way less, and he won from an area that wasn't as good as being on the near side. So I think if you're good enough, you can win, and I think she is going to be good enough. She's won every race bar the Everest there is over sprinting distances in Australia, and I think she's just going to be too good. Gets James McDonald, who's absolutely flying this meeting. That ride on opportunity today I think it was the Duke of Edinburgh. I think so. Was just bloody awesome. Winning from barrier 1. I remember William Haggis, in that preview show, said that opportunity had no chance because he was drawn barrier 1 or barrier 2, whatever it was. But I think Joliestar just wins this. But I will talk about some of these others. Satono Rev, he's getting on a bit, but he's very good. He ran second in this race last year, only beaten by a Lazat who was at the peak of his powers. He's pretty good, Satono Rev, but I think he has nothing on Joliestar, to be honest. Lake Forest comes back in trip, so you don't really know. That 1,200 metres might be, it might catch him by surprise a little bit. You've got Overpass, who's on the quick backup. He was last seen, obviously, in the King Charles Stakes. He ran third. He actually looked like the winner for a long way, but obviously 5 furlongs was a little bit sharp. Now he goes up to his preferred distance of 1,200 metres. Comanche Brave, he's had a pretty international sort of campaign, trying him at a few different distances, but he comes here coming from a Group 2 win in the Greenland Stakes at the Curragh, and gets Pierre Charles Badeau, who's back in the saddle after a long time off for you've probably seen the headlines, but it's pretty interesting, Comanche Brave, although I just don't think he'll get anywhere near Joliestar here. Sajir, might have a chance, but these French sprinters not named Lazat, I have a bit of a problem with, to be honest. And then you go on to the Watnan horses, Kind of Blue, Flora of Bermuda. They've been thereabouts for the last couple of seasons, but are they going to beat Joliestar? Probably not. Lugal, who's one of those international sort of horses. Actually, is he? I don't know. I feel like he ran in an Alquoz sprint or something. I'm not too sure. Maybe not. But actually, I think he did. I could just check the form, but I'm a little bit tired and I want to watch this Socceroos game. But yeah, these Japanese horses, they have to be respected. Yeah, he did run in the Alquoz. But yeah, he won't be good enough, and he's not as good as Satono Rev either, I don't feel. And then some of these others, Powerful Glory won the champion sprint at Ascot last year at 2,000 to 1, basically. And then you've got, regional Group 1 winner Cardem, who's won the race, I think, twice before, but he's 10 years old. They're just, sending him out for, good vibes at Ascot, I guess. But yeah, I think Joliestar, this was my moral of the meeting. Like going into this, I think she's just too good. And on top of that, Australian sprinters have such an excellent record in these races, like Black Caviar, Nature Strip, Merchant Navy, Asphora. I mean, you name it. We've had such a good record in these sorts of races, and Joliestar is better than half the horses I brought out here. So Joliestar wins the Queen Elizabeth Jubilee Stakes, I think. Right, we'll move on to the Jersey Stakes now. 7 furlongs. My excitement's going to be down a little bit because, Joliestar's just won and we can't really top that high of her winning. So the Jersey Stakes, these are sort of horses that might have come out of a Guineas or, that they're probably not good for a St James's Palace or a Coronation Stakes. But I think I've found one in here that's pretty interesting, If I can find the fucking race, oh my God. I think it's this one. Well, it has to be. Yeah, okay. So Sabre Strike's a favourite, obviously. He's done nothing wrong, but this is a big jump in class, I think. Or is it though? Like, let me have a look at this race that he ran in. Yeah, obviously he won the listed race, but it's still a big jump in class, and it's a big field as well. So yeah, not too sure about him. Although he might just win. I don't love these horses at the top. I think they're not being that competitive in their first starts as 3-year-olds, so I'm looking away from them. Coutureless was really interesting because he was a very hyped up 2-year-old, and then it didn't really go his way in Dubai. I remember he got rolled at like $1.80, and then he won a handicap last start, and then he comes here. I think the jury's really out on Coutureless. I don't think he's that good. The Secret Adversary, I think, is more of a miler. I think 7 furlongs might be a bit too short for him. Avicenna's a pretty good horse, to be fair, although not too sure where he's at. I'm not a huge fan of him. Maurice Dancer, pretty good 2-year-old, although it has its first start back here. Probably can't win. Probably if it had a run or something, then I'd be a bit more convinced. But yeah, probably needs a run in order to win here. Neolithic I think he ran at a mile last start and then drops back to 7 furlongs. For me, I'm looking for horses that are 7 furlong horses, or might have ran at 6 and then are going up to 7. I think sometimes going from a mile back to 7 furlongs is a bit of a shock to the system for some of these horses. So yeah, I think Neolithic, if he was at a mile, I'd be, more sold on him. America Queen, this is the horse that I like. She's a really nice grey horse. You could argue she's more of a sprinter, but I feel like a sprinting type could do well here. She came second in I think it was the Fred Darling or that other race, on her first start back. And I think she's really talented. Yes, it's a hard race this, but I think, at that price, I think she's worth having a bet on. Got bloody Billy Loughnane on board, who, is on fire at the moment. So, I think America Queen's going to be my only bet for this race. I mean, Andab, Joseph O'Brien spoke it up today during the broadcast. And I think, he could run well, although he's going from that Heron Stakes over a mile down to 7 furlongs. And yeah, that's about it. I like America Queen. I think it's a pretty difficult race this. Although, to be fair, I might look at Sabre Strike a bit closer because, he has one at listed level and, comes here, stays at 7 furlongs. And William Haggas said, I think it's like one of his best hopes this week, even though he's already won a bunch of races at this festival. So, yeah, it's between Sabre Strike or America Queen, but I'm definitely going to have something on America Queen in this. It has a lot going for it, I think. And then we'll talk about this last race real quick, this Queen Alexandra. I won't spend too long, but I have had a bet in this race, so it's definitely worth talking about. It's actually kind of interesting. Like, it's a conditions race. They're all carrying the same amount of weight. It's just a very long trip. Like, it's over 4,000 metres. Ladresti has this mythical Polish horse that ran very well behind Scandinavia last start. So, this horse could surprise. Although he's favourite, so it's not really a surprise, but whatever. And yeah, it's just a bunch of these sort of stayers that aren't really Gold Cup calibre, but can obviously stay. And they might have jumped hurdles in their past. Like, I know Hip Hop Delore has been over jumps, and has new owner or new trainer as well, for that matter. But the horse I like in this, and I feel morally bad, but Illinois. He's so much better than these horses. Like, so much better. Like, I can't believe he's not favourite, to be honest. he came second in the Gold Cup last year. I know he was beat a long way by Trawlerman, who's one of the best of all time at that distance. But like, how is he not favourite? I know, like he looked like he got pulled up basically in the Coronation Cup, but I feel like he kind of gave up in that race. Like he was, forced to go really hard at the start on a shit ground, and the horse probably just thought, fuck this, like I'm just not going to keep going, and I kind of don't blame him. Now he comes here, massive drop in grade. He's not going to be ridden like it's a fucking 6 furlong race. Gets Ryan Moore on board. I could see him just winning this based on class alone, to be honest. And he should get this trip. Like, they're not going to, like, they might go a bit hard, but, second in the Gold Cup last year, and, he hasn't really regressed if you look at his form. Like, obviously he's had that stinker at Epsom, but, he's a really good horse. I just think he wins this. Like, it's a Group 1 horse running in a conditions race, I think. I could be really wrong about that, but I like Illinois. I liked him. It's one of those horses I just kind of appreciated. He's been around at the top for a while. I don't think he's won a Group 1, but, he's just a good solid horse, and he's literally so much better than these horses, I just think. But yeah, this is my last preview for Ascot, obviously. If you like these videos, if you like my content, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you later.